Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Rezolvians, welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, we're going to talk about what happened to Rezolve today, what happened to AI stocks, and some interesting things happening with Rezolve, to say the least. We don't have any company-specific news. We do know at some point in December, we're going to get some really good news. I am currently getting ready for that. And in this video, I'll tell you what that news is and how it will affect Rezolve. But first, there's something very interesting happening today with AI stocks. You know, Rezolve is down 4.7% today. A lot of other AI stocks are down much more than that, or down similar amounts. I mean, BBAI, SoundHound, Tempest, they're all coming under pressure today. Nvidia is down about the same amount as Rezolve. Kind of crazy. Rezolve AI down 14% today. Some stocks are getting hit harder than others. Rezolve is kind of in the middle. It's not hit the hardest, but it's definitely not walking away from today unscathed. And it's actually funny because the only real negative thing today is the whole Nvidia situation. Now, basically, Meta says that they might start buying Google chips. Nvidia says that they are a generation ahead of Google's chips, which is probably true. I don't believe this headline at all, but it's putting pressure on AI stocks. Like, people think if Meta hypothetically buys Google chips, that's bad for AI. It matters who's getting the money as long as the money is being spent. Okay, it's quite idiotic, but sometimes the markets are idiots. Okay, and that's where you profit from this. So that happened today. Michael Burry basically reiterates that, Nvidia is not Enron, like a fraudulent company. They are the Cisco of 1999, calling AI a bubble again. And for whatever reason, the markets seem to now care what Michael Burry says, although it's not like he hasn't predicted the last 2,000, two of the last 2,000 crashes, right? He predicts crashes all the time. Dude's like a perma bear. And he's never correct, okay? And he's not correct on AI again. But mixed today with Michael Burry comments, Nvidia playing total defense here, going on offense, calling out Michael Burry, calling out Google, but seemingly just getting attacked from everywhere, is putting this pressure on AI stocks today. And there's really no getting around it. And Rezolve, being a hyper-growth AI stock, is coming under that similar pressure. Of course, I'm not going to make the argument that every area of AI is, fair value, or you should just universally buy everything. But, stocks like Rezolve that sell off on nothing, today is nothing. There's really no way to justify why Wall Street just feels a certain way. Those are opportunities. Where Rezolve is currently at $3.02 a share at the time of recording this video, is an opportunity. Now, we haven't had much news for Rezolve in a while. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing in this market. It's probably a good thing because even companies that have put out a lot of good news have not went up on it. Okay, this is one of the slowest, least reactionary periods for markets I've seen in a long time. Meaning, if companies put out good news, they're not going up on that good news. Okay, versus bad news, companies are going to react dramatically to that. Now, we haven't had any good or bad news with Rezolve, but we do know some news is coming. Okay, we do know that in December, Rezolve is going to confirm their 2025 ARR guidance. there's a 99% chance they beat 150 million, which was their prior target for 2025. Why do I say this? Because the company is not reporting earnings until March. They are not going to preemptively come out and miss guidance when they don't have to. Okay? They have no legal obligation to update you on 2025 ARR until earnings in March. They're not going to come out in December and miss. That would really be a questionable timeline of events. Okay, unless it was like really bad or something, like they lost ARR from their last earnings, something like that, then maybe, they probably should tell you about that in December. But there's a 99% chance the company beats their 2025 ARR target. Dan Wagner said at some point in December, they will update investors. Is that December 1st? Is that December 31st? I don't know. But that is a big catalyst that is coming soon for Rezolve. Now, recently, we have seen a lot of weird activity in the short positioning of hedge funds and institutions, okay? The short interest went from 11% in early October, call it 2 months ago, almost 2 months ago, to 4.3%. But today, there's a lot of shorting pressure on Rezolve. In the last 48 hours, it looks like short sellers have shorted on net 4.85 million shares. So the stock has come under some pressure in the last 24 to 48 hours. Short interest is now estimated at 5.4%. So quick little spike of shorts shorting Rezolve, probably algorithmically driven because of this NVIDIA situation. And overall, short interest still down over 50% in the past 2 months. So some very weird things happening with Rezolve. But it has nothing to do with Rezolve. See, Rezolve is going to beat 2025 ARR. They are trading at less than 2 times price to sales, which is 5 to 10 times cheaper than other similar unprofitable AI companies. More of your well-known companies. Okay, great. So valuation depressed, sentiment depressed, short sellers, institutions covering on short positions. I think we're geared up for an end of the year rally for this market and for AI stocks specifically. Okay, there's one big reason why a year-end chase happens. Well, there's a couple of them. But the simplest one is 80 to 85% of hedge funds consistently underperform the S&P. So I would imagine you're at a similar number this year as you are historically. Okay, maybe it's worse this year, I would imagine. A hedge fund or institution does not want to go into a new year underperforming the S&P. Okay, that's why you tend to get this year-end chase to try to narrow that gap. And your higher beta stocks could attract a little bit more attention. Something like Rezolve, after falling so much, getting to a depressed-like valuation, again, less than 2 times sales is crazy cheap. For Rezolve, they could offer that beta in a risk-on market, in a chasing market, might attract a lot of attention, especially with an upcoming catalyst in December. Now, it's going to be better if Rezolve puts out their ARR target in early December. I don't know if that's going to happen. It might be December 31st for all we know. But that's going to be a big catalyst, and it's going to send Rezolve stock up dramatically. So you're going to have this year-end chase. You're going to have a very positive catalyst coming. Now, some point in December as well, Rezolve might tell you that they're going to start reporting on a quarterly basis in 2026. Dan Wagner said they were. I don't know when that's going to be announced. It might be in the March quarter. It might be, when they update ARR for 2025. I'm not exactly sure when that's going to happen, but that's going to be another positive catalyst. Now, let's face it. This market has been pretty skittish for a while. I think a lot of it is algorithms. I think some of it is tax loss harvesting. Okay, I think people have tax loss harvested what they wanted to tax loss harvest. Okay, I don't think that is something that will weigh on markets. We've had Walmart earnings, we've had Nvidia earnings, we've had economic data that continues to do well and surprise to the upside. Okay, the things that actually matter for markets have been just fine. Okay, and I think that sets us up for a year-end rally. I think if you look at 2026, you're crazy if you're bearish, right? With all of the tailwinds coming in 2026, big beautiful bill and capex and tax, improvements, and consumer will improve, and real estate, if real estate picks up, you know how big of a stimulus that could be? Anywhere from 300 to 700 billion dollars of extra money hitting people's bank accounts. Okay? That's no small fry. Even if people, spend half of that and save the other half, which is typically not what happens, but even in that scenario, you're looking at anywhere from, 250 to 350 billion dollars worth of spending in this economy that is in addition to what we would normally see during any normal year like 2025. So there's a lot to be excited about in 2026. Who's buying chips from who gives a shit? Nvidia has $500 billion worth of a back order for the next 2 months. Recoveries are not typically just vertical, right? You're in the recovery phase, but there's still a lot of Wall Street that is uneasy, that is nervous, that is scared of the next pullback, okay? Wall Street, they're little babies, okay? They're emotional. They're like high school girls, okay? They're very, very emotional. And, it's going to take some time to settle that emotion. It is happening, okay? Now, if we look at Rezolve on StockTwits today, Rezolve, it has a sentiment score of 69. Message volume is high at 56, which that sentiment is still bullish. And participation ratio is high at 62. So those people that actually know about Rezolve are quite bullish on the stock. Another big thing that I will point to that is going to help out the risk on trade, a lot of AI stocks where I know you guys are invested as well, is the VIX. The VIX was down about 8% today. You're still elevated, right, at 18.94, but you've come down a lot from 26.5. And I think you're going to see a bit of a delayed effect where the VIX went down today and fear on paper actually fell. But the fear in the marketplace consuming AI stocks and hyper growth areas is going to come down over the next day or two. Right? Keep in mind, tomorrow is a normal day of trading. Thursday, markets are closed for Thanksgiving. And then you're going to have a half day on Friday. I do think the rest of this week is going to be very strong. Now, what tends to happen as well, which should be mentioned, is you get the tax loss harvesting in October. You get some October volatility, okay? Part of the reason November and December tends to be bullish historically is because people are off, living their lives, doing the whole holiday thing, right? There doesn't tend to be a lot of panic and fear. Doesn't tend to be a lot of selling. The buying pressure comes in. You tend to have a low volume melt up in markets. And even when you look at the CNN Fear and Greed Index, it's at 15. People are still pretty fearful, but I think that fear is set to subside a bit in the coming days and weeks. And that's going to be really good for risk on stocks. Anytime you've bought the dip, you've bought the markets, when the CNN Fear and Greed Index is in extreme fear, you have done well in the months ahead, as long as you don't have a recession, which doesn't look like we do, okay? Market momentum is fear, stock price strength, extreme fear, stock price breadth, extreme fear, put and call options, extreme fear, market volatility is neutral, safe haven demand, extreme fear, and junk bond demand in extreme fear. The percent of stocks trading above their 50-day moving average actually recovered a little bit today to about 47%, which about 8% of stocks today breaking above their 50-day moving average. And we should get a new AI investor sentiment survey maybe coming out tomorrow. Maybe it's on Thursday. Maybe it's on Friday. I'm not exactly sure when, but it's still going to show a lot of bears out there. Okay. But again, I do think that is going to change in the days and weeks to come. And some of these hyper growth, ultra low valuation stocks like Rezolve are going to be some of the most explosive stocks to the upside. Hopefully we get some news soon. That's definitely going to help things out. But hedge funds and institutions covering on so much of their short position in the past month or so leads me to believe that maybe someone out there knows something. Someone is no longer bearish on Rezolve. Let's put it that way. Somebody out there does not want to be short in Rezolve anymore. And that's not really what you see when a stock goes from $8 to $3. Normally the short interest rises in that scenario. Okay. You're also seeing low volume in Rezolve. We just need some volume to come into the stock, some dollar halas to come in, and that's going to be big. The RSI sitting at 34.5, still very depressed. Now, something else I will say is the MACD line crossed above the signal line. Okay, this was yesterday. Historically, when that happens, you do get quite the upside move. Okay, when the MACD crosses, that is typically a very positive signal. Last time this happened was on August 28th, and Rezolve went up 16%, and that started the rally to $8 a share, right? $8.45 a share. That's the last time the MACD actually went positive, okay? And, based on what we're seeing now with the setup that I think we're going to have over the next month or so, I think another large rally is in store. Could be wrong, obviously. But I do have a lot of skin in the game here with this one. I have 11,300 shares in one portfolio, 14,500 shares in another portfolio, 1,000 shares in the Webull, and 1,300 shares in the Thinkorswim. That the total 28,100 shares times $3.02 is about $85,000 invested in Rezolve. I'm roughly break even at this point. Okay, I was up like 200,000 in profits in this stock at one point. I didn't sell, I didn't trim, at the highs. I like the stock at $8. I like the stock at $4. I really like the stock at $3. And I've done a lot of averaging up from my initial buy-ins in the low $2 range. Okay, so I'm call it roughly break even on the stock, but I do think much, much, much better days are ahead. Okay, especially with even the short term here. Like we know Rezolve's going to beat guidance in December. 99% chance, in my opinion. They're not going to come out and pre-report a miss. That's just not what Rezolve is going to do. Okay, so I really like the setup from here. MACD positive, extreme pessimism in markets, ultra low valuation, big catalyst coming, short sellers dumping their short positions. I don't know what there's to not like with Rezolve. And I struggle to find other companies that meet a similar standard to Rezolve. I am making a video about Rezolve AI. That's another company that I really like alongside Rezolve. Very similar company in a way from a valuation perspective and all of that. Just in different playing fields, obviously. But Rezolve is top tier when it comes to hypergrowth AI stocks. So that's just my opinion. Again, all of this, my opinion. Come to your own conclusions. Do your own research. Contact a financial advisor when you don't understand something before you make investment decisions. Now, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already, and check that link out down below in the description of today's episode if you guys want to come join the trading community and come invest alongside us, okay? We're going out to find stocks like Rezolve and Datavault and some of these other, hyper-growth AI long-term winners, in my opinion. Again, I might be wrong. I don't think I am, okay? And this is a long journey. AI is going to be around for a long time. Forget what Michael Burry says. He had one good trade. The dude hasn't done anything since, okay? Let Wall Street have their panic moment, okay? But you need to stay grounded keep your emotions at bay. Look at the facts. And the facts are, as we've discussed in today's episode. And I like the facts. Okay? It's hard to not like the facts with Rezolve specifically. So, again, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.